you create the day that you're going to have from the second that you wake up. Let your body like sit back and let your mind sit back and be like, what's going to make me feel good today? And then you work your way up to a happiness. My name is Cathy Busse. I go by Cathy B. It's kind of a fun nickname for myself. I currently work in the hospitality industry. I'm a restaurant manager, but in my spare time, I like to do yoga and I like to cook and I like to travel. I'm actually traveling right now, so that's kind of verifying that. Even though we're in the middle of a pandemic, still try to do a little bit of it. I have a dog. I have a little corgi. Her name is Fallon, like Jimmy Fallon. I absolutely adore Jimmy Fallon. I love comedy. I love just having a good time, enjoying life, being free.
So like, how do you keep on enjoying like when COVID hits and all this kind of stuff when you like to travel? How do you stay positive, about that?
I mean, that's hard. I mean, just because well, I work a normal job, you can say. I work as a restaurant manager, so my hours are kind of like fluctuating constantly. And then I don't really have like a normal Friday, Saturday off like everybody that works a 9 to 5 does. So my days off would be like Tuesday, Wednesday, so it's kind of, I guess just finding a balance in that. But then of course, like when the pandemic hit, we had our hours change and we went to like takeout only. So it was like from every day, but only from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. So that really helped with like just being able to like kind of like take a step back out of work, because I was working like 9 to 10 hour days. So that kind of just like really helped me take a step back and kind of like refocus and realign of like what I wanted to do. So even though I had to work the whole pandemic, it actually kind of helped me just refocus everything. Cause I feel like pre-pandemic, I was kind of like beginning to be burnt out and just like, what am I doing? Like life is so hard. And then, it just kind of clicked for me in a sense, but yeah, I don't know if that answered your question. Oh, for traveling wise. Yeah, sorry. I mean, if I had like 2-3 days off in a row together, like sometimes my boss was able to make having Saturday, Sunday, and then like Monday, Tuesday of the following week together. If I have like a 4-day weekend, maybe I'll drive to Nashville or, just make a small drive out of it. Obviously living in like France and stuff, it's so easier to like travel and like go 3 hours and you're in Brussels or you're in Luxembourg or something. But in the States, it's like Tennessee takes a whole 11 hours to get across in one day. So, I can't really do that in one day. Like that's kind of unrealistic. So it's kind of like, you just kind of make the best of it where you can. Maybe if you can't really get out of your city, maybe try something new that you haven't done in your city before. That's kind of still like a fun traveling thing. Maybe post about it on social media, get excited. I don't know. It's kind of constantly different things in my head. So that's what I'll try to do.
But how do you kind of like recharge to get the energy to actually go travel where you'll relax? Because sometimes you can have a hard week and then the traveling seems like a harder challenge than just staying at home and sleeping. How do you get that motivation?
I feel like it's a lot to do with like just finding out your own way that you balance. Me personally, like my whole life, I thought I was like extroverted and I was like, I love people. I want to be around people all the time. And like people being around people like recharges me. I love it, And then I feel like the older that I got, I was kind of like, being around people all the time is exhausting. And like, I love people. I'm very much an extrovert, but I'm an extrovert that needs that introvert time, So it's like, whenever you're able, like, it's kind of like the more you get out and the more you get to travel or the more people that you meet, and then when you get to be home alone or like have your alone time, it's kind of like when you like get to take a deep breath and you're like, wow, okay, like I'm pretty tired right now. Like, it's like just being able to tell those signs for yourself. So like if you have like, maybe like I used to like hang out with friends like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday if I was off during like, the school year, like when I was a student in college and I had the weekends free, I'd be like, oh, I'm hanging out with everybody all weekend. And then you'd go to school Monday and then you're exhausted. It's like, yeah, you're exhausted because you spent your whole weekend doing something with friends, even though it's a fun activity, you didn't give yourself any time to rest. So it's kind of like, I feel like just like finding that balance for yourself, like even if you're going to be traveling or whatnot, like just being able to realize, okay, I have a trip in 3 days and I have 4 days until I need to leave, or I have a trip for 3 days and then I have 4 days until I need to leave, instead of like hanging out or going to dinner with some friends the night before you go, maybe like go home, have a bottle of wine or glass of wine, whatever.
Mm.
And, like watch your favorite show, watch your favorite movie while you like kind of slowly get it together and then go to bed at a decent time. And then the next day you wake up and it's like, okay, I feel pretty good, and ready for a day of travel or whatnot. So it's just kind of finding the balance for yourself.
Mm. So do you have like specific routines, like just to recharge before you go, like watching Jimmy Fallon and doing yoga or?
Honestly, I would like to say that I have a routine, and I think that I do. I kind of more so have like, it's kind of funny. I have like bullet points of like what my morning routine, like what a perfect morning routine would be for me. But every morning, accomplishing that perfect morning routine is a little bit like kind of being hard on yourself in a sense, because if you don't manage it, then you're all of a sudden like upset that you didn't get every single bullet point. So like I have like 12 bullet points listed out on like a piece of paper in my room back home, for like my perfect morning routine, and it would start off with like making your bed, listen to like a positive podcast, and then going down to like stretching, and then going down to like getting ready for the day, like maybe make breakfast or make a cup of coffee. I think I might have already said that. Sorry, I don't have the list in front of me. But then, going down to like, I want to work out, and then I'll journal, or, just kind of like hitting like the main things that I know makes me feel good to like start my day. So I don't know, I feel like sometimes every morning when I wake up, like I'll try to like at least get 3 or 4 of them in, and I'm like, okay, like those are the things that I know that's going to like make me like feel pretty calm and like have a good start to the day. Because I don't know, you just kind of like realizing that like you create the day that you're going to have from the second that you wake up. So if you kind of like wake up in a stressed space and you're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Like I'm running 5 minutes late, then the whole rest of the day, you're going to be like, but if you kind of just take a second to like maybe even get like one thing on your own bullet point list done, then that always helps, if that makes sense.
I feel like, like back in the days, I used to do like wake up at 6 a.m. At 6:05, I do like 30 minutes meditation. And then at 6:35, I do like gratitude journal. But I feel like it's better to have a global routine. And then like sometimes I do my morning routine. It's like 5 p.m. And I start like, I read, like I do my morning stuff at 5 p.m. And it's okay. As long as I do it, it's in the, it's in your habits, and
exactly.
It feels so much better to have this freedom in between,
Yeah, no, for sure. That's something that's like super cool, just being able to like, I feel like some people get so like caught up in like the idea of like, oh, I need to have a perfect morning routine, or I need to have this ready, or this needs to be ready to go, or whatnot. But I think half the fun is kind of being able to be flexible with it, because if you think about it, like your body, you wake up every day, and some days your body wants to have cereal for breakfast. Some days you want to have eggs. Some days you want to have just coffee and like, I don't know, maybe like an omelet or something. And it's kind of like every day, if you're stuck in that routine where I make egg whites every morning, and then I have a bowl of cereal, and then I have a banana, and then I leave the house. It's kind of like you begin to just kind of be like, what is life? I'm stuck in this cycle. So it's kind of like, it's just a bit more fun for me to kind of just let my body have like an intuitive moment of like, let's have a banana this morning, and then let's make like a peanut butter sandwich for lunch. It's like, okay, great. So and then tomorrow you could have lobster, it's just kind of like having that intuitive moment to just let your body like sit back, and let your mind sit back and be like, what's going to make me feel good today? So I don't know, just getting in tune.
Yeah. And it sounds like you're, pretty spontaneous with these trips and with this kind of, living in the present, right? But how do you stay in the present when you know that sometimes you have to, plan ahead? And how do you like keep yourself from going, oh, I have a long weekend in 2 weeks, let's wait until that moment? How do you stay present and still enjoy the things before that moment?
That's such a good question. I feel like that's something that like I like constantly like I guess like not like preach, but like preach at work, and like preach to my friends, and like just kind of like, you guys have to like live in the moment now, and like not be like so like exhausted with like the future, or like exhausted with the past and like what's going to happen. I feel like, because like, granted, okay, yes, the past is awesome. Like that's where you got all of your personality traits, where you like made your friends, where you like live your experiences, and where you can like kind of look back and like enjoy memories. So like the past is great, but it's kind of like, you don't want to dwell in the past, because it's like sometimes it could be negative, and sometimes it could be like exhausting. And then also like living in the past, time travel has not been invented yet, at least to my knowledge. So like, you can't go back and change what you did. So like, it's pointless to like sit here and like, oh my gosh, I didn't wave back to them in 20 seconds. And like, they think I'm probably the meanest person in the world now. Or like, oh my gosh, I just like completely cut that driver off and like they flipped me off and now I'm going to have a terrible day. Like, forget about it. Like you guys are both still alive. You're breathing. Like you made it to your next scene. Like I saw this TikTok the other day and it was like when something crazy happens, whether you're like traveling or, you know, anything, you could just quickly say like, oh, well, it's thickening the plot. So it's like, you know, something kind of like crazy happens in your past, you could just be like, oh, well, it's thickening the plot for what's going to happen next today. So kind of like make it a funny thing for yourself or turn it into like a positive thing. So that's what I'll kind of do. So that whenever I start thinking about the past or thinking about something that I maybe said or did, and I'm like, wow, that was embarrassing. You know, I'll kind of be like, okay, whatever, just roll with it. Like it is what it is. You are who you are. You said what you said, you know, kind of those kind of thoughts. And then I'll just kind of segue into like being in my now moment. And then being in the now moment is like the cool part, because once you're there and you just start to like realize like everything around you, like, wow, like the sun is shining so beautiful today. Like I'm going to go outside and go to the beach and do some yoga this morning. Like, then you just get to go there and you just get to like breathe and like just soak it in. I don't know, like you just kind of, and then you just kind of like, you know, let your mind like relax. And then it just kind of start to feel a little bit more calm and like, you just kind of get in tune. And then it's like, great. Like I'm like, what do I want to do today? That's like kind of that's like what I'll start asking myself when I do a lot of my yoga workouts or whatever, or just kind of have like a morning to be quiet, maybe like listen to some fun music or a podcast or a journal. I'll kind of like, after I do all that and I can tell that my mind is like a bit more at ease, then I'll start asking myself like, okay, what do you want to do today? What's something that you feel like you've been wanting to create or that you want to talk about or anything really. And then the future, I just think the future is just exciting. Like, I feel like live in your now moment and just like be in a happy state of mind, and then just hope that like everything that you're like working really hard for is going to happen. Like actually don't even hope, like know that it's going to happen, because it will happen. Like if you're staying in the now moment and you're being like positive and you're being like listening to your inner self and you're doing what the things that you want to do, then I feel like then when you get into like the present or the future, because you're not even going to be focusing on the future because you're so focused in your now moment and you're like, wow, I want this for myself. I want this. And then you just kind of forget about it. And then you keep going in your now moment. Next week, that what you asked for, like, it's going to pop up in your life next week. Like, it just happens all the time. Like, and it's so weird. Maybe like people say like, oh, you know, you could be lucky or whatever. It's like, no, it's just because it's like, I have a good like headspace, or I'm in like a good positive state. And like, I don't know, there's literally studies on it. And I've been like listening a lot to like the law of attraction and like Abraham Hicks and all of that. I don't know if you guys are familiar with her or anything like that, but I mean, like, I don't know, just some of that stuff, some of those beliefs and all those are just really very, very cool to kind of circle back to and think about for the day.
Yeah, I feel like it's just like the surrender experiment. I don't know if you read that book. It's exactly like you just like start surrendering, and then like things fall into place. And like once you stop chasing the thing you want the most, and you just surrender to what happens in your life, and then that thing just comes to you naturally. And if it doesn't, it's fine. Maybe it'll come like along the way. Or
yeah, exactly. But I feel like a big key to that is like, oh, like surrendering is like, some people will see it as in a way that like, oh, well, I'm going to surrender to all the negative things that happened to me, or like, yeah, like, okay, great. Yeah. I got a ticket today, or I surrendered and then like somebody broke up with me. It's like, okay, well, you're not seeing the positive. You're not seeing it in a way where you need to retrain your brain to see it in a good thing for you. So it's like, okay, like, yes, maybe you got a ticket today, but you know what, maybe that prevented you from like rear-ending somebody 10 minutes down the road. And that would have been way more expensive. And then you would have had to have your car in the shop. So it's kind of like, kind of see it in like a positive way, where it's like, that cop, yeah, obviously they pulled me over. I got a ticket. That sucked, but I'm still okay. And then again, with like, maybe if somebody got dumped or something, then it's like, okay, great. Like that really sucked. I put a lot of time into that relationship and I put a lot of effort and a lot of like emotion into that, but they broke up with me. And then it's like, okay, well, they broke up with me because maybe I'm not where I need to be. So like, then it's kind of like doing some inner reflection and being like, okay, that's the negative thing, but then you can turn it into a positive thought where, you know, okay, they broke up with me. So like, you know, thank you for not wasting any more time of mine. And thank you for letting me be able to understand that like, you're not where I'm at with you, you know? So I don't know, just kind of some like, definitely surrendering, definitely like seeing it that way, but also like kind of retraining your brain into seeing it in like, yeah, maybe it was a negative thing that happened, or it could have been a negative thing, but flipping it to a positive way. Like that's what always helps me. Cause I feel like I used to be kind of negative, maybe like 2-3 years ago, but yeah, just kind of flipping it, retraining it to be like, it's a positive thing for me. Like my life is going to work out for me the way that I intend it to be. So yeah.
And before you spoke about the law of attraction and Abraham Hicks as well. And do you think that it's easier now more than ever than to kind of get into that spiritual mindset and that manifestation mindset, and also, well, the vortex, as Abraham Hicks calls it? Or
Yeah.
now that we have all these technologies and that it's accessible to us in 2 minutes, or would it be easier to just shut all of that off and try to get there on our own without any kind of any Abraham Hicks or any Alan Watts videos or anything like that?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's another question that kind of just depends on the person. But me particularly, I really enjoy just being able to flip open YouTube and pull up any kind of video. I honestly have started doing it like almost every morning, and I'll kind of like whatever video pops up in my feed. Maybe one of the first 3 ones that I see, whatever out of the thumbnails that I like, I'll click on one of those ones. Cause I just kind of assume that like out of those 3, those are probably the ones that are meant for me today. So I don't know. I kind of just try to be a little bit intuitive about it, or a little like, ooh, whatever's laid out in front of me is for me. So I don't know. I'll try to do that. But yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's a lot easier to, sorry, my computer, I put it on do not disturb, but I guess things still came through. I'm sorry. But yeah, I feel like some of it just kind of, I don't know, it is easier to get into it, you know, like as Abraham Hicks kind of talks about, like the air conditioning, you know, like unit, kind of using that as like your meditative state. So really, I mean, she kind of preaches and talks about the fact that you can do it anywhere, even if you don't have a computer or anything like that. So it's like, as long as you're able just to kind of like, I guess, know what she's teaching and kind of like practice it yourself and kind of get into like that, like, okay, I feel comfortable practicing it now, and I feel comfortable like meditating, and I feel comfortable doing all these other things, then it just kind of comes naturally. And then as well, like kind of gives you an opportunity just to like sit back and like talk with God, talk with, you know, the universe, talk with whoever you want to call it, you know, or whatever, but you know, just kind of gives you that moment. But yeah, I think it is easy with technology, but it also can be easy without, to circle back.
And I'm curious, like, how do you manage, you know, expectation and hitting your goals and surrendering at the same time? You know, like surrendering is more in the present, and goals are usually like chasing your dreams and all that. And I know, like myself, I struggle with that, like on a daily basis. I try to do a little bit of both, but like, I'm curious how you like deal with that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely struggle with the goals and everything, but something that I've kind of like come to realize lately is that whether it's a goal, actually, if it's a goal and if it's something that you want to achieve, when you let yourself get into like an in tune moment, or like just kind of a relaxed, like in the now moment, you will do what you want to do. And that's where I kind of have to surrender, and I have to trust and like sit back and like, obviously, yeah, it's going to be super easy to sit on the couch and watch a movie all day, or like, you know, watch a show or something. And that's definitely what I want to do. But in a moment where it's like, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling creative, I'm feeling productive, and like, I know that I have these 2 projects that I want to work on or whatever, maybe, you know, you're like, oh, I want to do it, but like something's pulling me back or whatever. And that's when you kind of have to like listen to like your ego or your inner voice and be like, no, this is a moment where I'm feeling good, I'm feeling creative. I need to sit down for like 2 hours and focus on a project or whatnot, or focus on this editing, or focus on creating some content, you know, whatever it may be for whatever job you want to get, whatever job that you are doing. Yeah, I feel like a big part of it is just kind of like getting in the moment, and then creating that time and creating that space, and creating that flow for yourself. Because I feel like a big part of it is just kind of like Having the schedule, of course, and kind of like preparing your days. So like my 2 off days, whenever I'm off for the week, those are kind of the days that I'll focus on like my Instagram or like, creating some content for like yoga or whatever. And then obviously when I'm at work, then I'm at my normal job. But yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of, again, finding a balance for yourself and finding what feels right, because at the end of the day, you want to do what you love. And if you're forcing yourself to work on a project and you're just like not feeling that motivation, you're not going to be creating the work that you are capable of creating. So it's just kind of like being able to get into the space and you're like, wow, okay, I'm feeling good today. I'm not going to listen to my ego. I'm going to work on this for 2-3 hours and then I'll take a break. And if I want to come back, I'll come back. But if not, then like I have tomorrow, or I have, even though tomorrow isn't promised, but you can always just kind of be like, I have more time to do this, and it's not going to be the end of the world if I don't get it done today. Unless you have a deadline, but I don't know. It's just kind of, I feel like it's just kind of going with the flow, kind of creating it with yourself, if that makes sense. And I know it's different for everybody, because I know some people need like that intense structure. And I feel like I'd probably be one of those people if I worked like a 9-to-5 job where I had like set specific hours, but mine are always kind of fluctuating. So I've kind of had to train myself to just go with that fluctuation. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think it's good to like sometimes come back to work with a fresh pair of eyes, and if you work on multiple stuff at the same time, you can just like pause one, go back, like go to another one, and then you bring up new ideas, and you're like, oh, I got a new idea for this stuff. So you come back to the other stuff, and you just like bouncing all your work at the same time. But sometimes it feels good to just take a break from one and move on to the other. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
And oh, sorry, you had a question, or?
Yeah, I did actually.
Okay.
How do you sorry, how do you kind of get into that into a place where you feel, well, as Abraham Hicks calls it, the path to least resistance? How do you set yourself back on it when you get sidetracked? Because we spoke of, you said you don't let your ego get in the way. That's great, but how do you do that? Because sometimes on a day like this, when it's beautiful outside and you're like, oh, I feel so good, you know what, I'm gonna blow off everything I had to do today. But how do you set yourself back on, okay, no, you know what, I'm gonna stay true to what I'm, to, let's say, to the path that I'm supposed to be on? And how do you stay on that? Is there like a ritual? Do you meditate? Do you do anything like that?
I'll do some meditation, but it's kind of more like light meditation in a sense. I'm not really able to like kind of full out, like sit on the floor, that's awesome, but I'm not mentally there yet. I feel like, I'll probably giggle in between, or something. But, I think that people always talk about like your ego being a bad thing, or like, oh, your ego, like push it down, don't listen to your ego. I think step number 1 is just embracing your ego, because your ego is part of you. Your ego is part of your thoughts. Your ego is definitely like has a point sometimes. But I think a big part of it is like learning to embrace your ego and just being able to work with it. And when I say work with it, it just kind of comes from trial and error. And then obviously like knowing your inner voice between like that ego, kind of like the angel and devil on your shoulder, just kind of like working with your ego and stuff, and just being able to like have that angel and devil on the shoulder, kind of a, mental, or like a visual of it, and being able to, sit on the couch and be like, oh, I should work out or something. And then the, devil's like, nah, like hang out, like we can watch a movie and eat some food or something. And then your angel's on the side's like, well, you're going to feel so much better after you do it. Like, come on, get up and do it. And then it's like, no. It's just kind of like learning to decipher the voices and just being like, oh, you know what? Like, yes, actually, like working out, it's going to take 30-45 minutes of my day. That's like missing one of these episodes that I can come back and watch at any time. So it's kind of like, let me get up, let me go work out, let me move my body. And then after that, it's just kind of like, yeah, you can choose to come back and sit down because you did what you wanted to do. Or either, now you're feeling better, you moved your body, you got your blood flowing and everything, so you feel a bit better. So maybe now it's like, okay, I'm going to stay in this path of least resistance, and I'm going to go ahead and go and do, the next thing that I wanted to do. Maybe I wanted to go to a flower shop today or something. It's like, instead of sitting back down on the couch, wasting more time watching something that's always going to be there, you can, go seize the day. So it's just kind of like getting up and listening to those little moments of listening to like the angel on your shoulder instead of like the ego, But again, it takes time to decipher it because for every person, it's going to sound different or it's going to look different. So it's just kind of like sitting back, listening, taking the time to think about it, and all of that. But yeah. I feel like whenever you just get in the path of least resistance, like for me, I don't know, it'll just kind of like, I'll just kind of watch an Abraham Hicks video, or I'll just kind of remember some of the stuff that she says, and is in a place where it could be like, oh, I'm going to, think about something that doesn't feel so good, like you're having a bad thought. It's like, this isn't fun. Like, I don't like this. So then it's okay. Instead of dwelling on that thought and being like, yes, that's a bad thought. Like, live in that moment. It's what a bad thing that just happened to you. Take a step back and be like, okay, let me find something in the room that I am grateful for. So you could be like, what, I'm grateful for my steady Wi-Fi connection. Great. I'm grateful for that. And then from there, then it's like, okay, great. Without my Wi-Fi connection, I can, do other things online, or I can do more work or whatever. And then you kind of just start to refocus and get into an alignment with like more things that feel good for you. So instead of like dwelling on the thing that's bad, kind of call yourself out on it and be like, okay, that wasn't good. That's not a bad thought. That's not a good thought. Let me think something better. It doesn't have to be like an immediate, like, wow, I'm happy. Like, no, you're human. You can have emotions. You can go and fluctuate in between up and down, but it's just in a way of like finding something that makes you a little less sad or a little less feeling bad. And then you work your way up to a happiness. So it's like, so I feel like some people, when they don't understand it, they'll kind of be like, oh, well, I was really mad. And then all of a sudden you're happy all of a sudden. Kind of just like, you have to remember there are baby steps to literally everything. Baby steps to growth, baby steps to happiness, baby steps to intelligence, baby steps to everything. So.
Yeah, and I think it's different for everybody. And there's never one rule for every type of situation. Everything's going to be different. Like, you're going to grow and your environment is going to change. So like something that might work in the past might not work in the future, and you're going to just have to adapt to it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right.
And part of it's just being adaptable.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for all your answers. I think it's promo time for you now. So whatever you got going on, if you want to promote your Instagram, all that, feel free to do it.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. Well, I have an Instagram. Obviously it's called @the_stray cat. Just because I feel like I'm a little stray sometimes. So not like in a negative way at all. I like to promote positivity, and I like to promote yoga and fitness, and then as well as like just some travel stuff, and then kind of being happy with yourself and creating the life that you want to create, because your intentions create your own reality. You can do that yourself every stinking day. You don't have to have any kind of bad juju, bad mojo, any of that in your life. If you do, you can get rid of it yourself, with the help of just positive thinking, positive affirmations, all of that fun stuff. I would love to be able to be your internet friend and be here whenever you need someone to chat with or need a positive thought for the day. I like to report it. I also have a YouTube channel. It's very new. So I'd like to say that I have videos out like every week, but just with the travel and the pandemic and all that, and then of course just like my work schedule being a little crazy, I got a little slack on the YouTube. But Instagram, I'm on there all the time, and I will be creating more videos very, very soon. But those will just kind of be more like lifestyle, some stuff with my dog, and just happy. I don't know, but that's pretty much all. That's all I got.